Hey all, it's Rich and Shelley. Welcome to Air to Ground Farms.
Good evening. Welcome to Monday night live farm talk
Woohoo!
because we've been farming. Before we get into what we want to talk to you guys about tonight, what did we do this week? Let's see. Well, we got about 6 inches of unexpected rain.
Yeah, we knew it was going to rain, but we didn't know it was going to rain that much. The first rain was right at 3 inches in just under an hour.
Yeah. Were we here for that one?
No,
No, I think that one. Where were we?
we were at the store.
Oh, maybe we were at the market or coming back from the market. At any rate, we were out and about and it just came buckets. His mom and dad were here and they said that you couldn't hardly even see.
Yeah.
You know, it was so bad. And we needed rain and we were so grateful for the rain. But it's not cool when you get all of the rain all at one time in like 45 minutes.
Well, then yesterday it rained almost 2.5 inches in about 2 hours.
Yeah. So we got a lot of water.
Yeah, we did.
And the creek is full and flowing and happy. But we would have liked to have gotten all those 6 inches over about, 12 hours or maybe 36 hours. It would have even been better.
Yeah.
But it is great for the grass. And boy, howdy, the grass has been great this year, this spring. We've had so much good thick grass, for the cows and the sheep to be grazing on. And after a couple of years of drought,
This is amazing.
it's been great.
The grass is really thick. It's awesome.
We feel very
Truly
blessed
amazing.
this
Yeah.
year to have water and sunshine and grass growing at a pace, keeping up with the cows and the sheep as they're eating. And
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, since we talked with these guys last, we got another 250 chickens.
Yeah, it's our chicken math. They keep showing up.
Multiplication.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we've got 100 new baby layer chickens. And this year we went with a blue sex link.
Yeah.
So they're kind of gray. They're going to be gray blue. They're going to be really pretty. And they're a sex link, which is a hybrid. And they lay very prolifically. That's why they are what they are. So they will be laying, probably close to 300 eggs a year,
Yeah.
I think.
And they'll join our hen flock, our layer flock. So what we will do, we have these blue sex links, and then they're going to join this fall. Last fall, we had white chickens, the Delawares, and then the fall before that, we had red sex links. And if you're not red sex link, white Delaware, or blue sex link, this fall you get culled out of the flock.
So a chicken stops laying prolifically at about 18 months to 2 years old. And what we've decided to do is use colors and the type of chicken to tell us what year or what season that chicken was brought onto the farm and how old they are. And that way, whenever it's time for them to go, it's not so hard for us to sort them and cull them and turn them into stew hens or sell them to a homestead that doesn't mind if they don't lay a bazillion eggs a year. Maybe they only need, a million eggs a year instead of a bazillion. And so that said, we will cull anybody who isn't red or white or blue. Oh my gosh, we did that. And here we are at Independence Day week. So let's talk about our well-bought and blue chickens.
There we go.
Yeah.
We've talked about actually putting them on the pasture too. We may do that if we can find a way to do a mobile coop that's more mobile than what they have now. We may honestly take our culls and put them out following the beef cows to do pasture cleanup.
Yeah, pasture sanitation, going around behind the cows and eating up the fly larvae, spreading out the poop, fertilizing, scratching, and doing a good job. It's hard for us just simply because the hills, our cows graze hills a lot. So we want to see if we can get them at least behind them somehow. And I think they would make good sanitation department.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
if we
that's a
lose
good
one or
idea.
two to predators, then it's not the end of the world. It's not our production flock.
Yeah. So speaking of poultry, our turkeys are growing. My goodness, they are 3 weeks old now. And those little things, they grow fast at this age. Well, they grow fast in general because they're the white, broad-breasted, much like the Cornish cross chickens. So they grow super fast, and we were super eager to get them out on pasture because the brooder that they were in, we had just put layer and layer and layer of wood chips in there, and it was time. At 3 weeks old, they can go out on pasture and get out of the brooder. Well, we put them out, and we're going to step them up basically to a cage on the pasture with something they can roost on and a shade tent and all that little shade, nursery cloth, shade cloth. And then we got 2.5 inches of rain in about 2 hours yesterday. And we went out there, and they were all soaked, and they were cold, and they were all huddled under the bit of shelter that they had. And if we didn't do something, they were probably, most of them weren't going to make it.
Yeah, they were piling, and one of them had already died, and there were most all of them were cold and shivering. So we had to gather them back up and get them back into the brooder on some fresh, dry chips under the heat lamps, and they looked absolutely pitiful.
Oh, they did.
They were
I was
wet
so sad
and
for
shivering,
them.
and we're like, oh my gosh, I think we just killed all of our turkeys.
Yeah, but we didn't. And, you never count an animal or a human dead until they're warm and dead. And these guys were just cold and a little lethargic. And they got under the heat lamps and started drying themselves and warming up. And we didn't lose another one. All of them lived, and they warmed up, and they were happy when we went out there this morning. And so were we.
Yeah,
we were
definitely.
really happy.
So out of
because that was about to be tragic.
Yeah, out of that we lost one bird, but it could have been a lot worse.
We were going to move them tomorrow, which will be Tuesday, and we got eager, and a lot of times it'll say it's going to do something weather-wise around here, and then then it doesn't. So
it said that it was like a 25% chance of rain or something, and then it dumped.
It did. And anyway, we got them inside, so that poultry, those turkeys were saved, and we'll get them back out on another day in a couple of days. So, and then of course the 150 more Cornish cross that came as well with the other little baby hens.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
And our next batch goes to the processor this week on Wednesday, and we will pick up batch number 2, which is frozen now, and we will have another 475 pounds of chicken.
Fun fact, in order, the USDA processing on chicken, they process it all basically in a day, and then they air chill it at this particular place, which is wonderful, and then package it up. So all in a matter of just a couple of days, it goes from chicken to chicken in a package. And what I didn't know was it has to be frozen on their premises for a week before it can leave. That was interesting because it's not like that with pork or with beef.
I don't know.
No, because we've shown up and
right.
it was like mostly frozen.
Yeah.
It was done kind of the day before, and it was still freezing, and they can send it out. So I'm not sure what the true difference is there or why the USDA standard is different on chicken, but it has to be frozen for a week on their property. So while it might be ready to actually be picked up and all packaged and everything by, say, Wednesday, if it's done by Wednesday, we can't pick it up until the next Wednesday because it has to be frozen for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we're getting another almost 500 pounds of chicken, we went today and bought our
numbers 21 through 24.
We bought 4 more deep freezes, so now we have
something like that.
24
freezers of some sort, various sizes and shapes
ages.
and ages. But whenever you're in the meat business, it has to stay frozen, it has to stay cold, and so cold storage is quite a thing. We do not have a walk-in freezer. My father-in-law, Eddie, bless his heart, really, really wants us to get one. But, finding a place to put that and all that goes with it.
It's so much easier to find a place for 24 chest freezers.
Well, if we moved all those out, we could put a really big, like tractor trailer size one in there, I suppose. And you know what? One day we might have to do that. But today, if you guys are looking for a good sale on chest freezers, Lowe's is having them right now because it's 4th of July weekend, and oftentimes they do have big sales on their appliances. And we basically got a 2-for-1 deal. So
Yeah, these
go
were-
check it out if you're needing them.
These were 16 cubic foot whirlpools. They're refrigerator and freezer, and they're normally $999. They were marked $450 off, and if
crazy.
you bought 4, you could take another 20% off of that. So
Yeah.
there we go.
So big, huge discount.
Yeah.
It was like, how many can we haul?
Well, we could have hauled more than that.
That's true. Well, even stored. But at any rate, with all of chicken coming on to the farm as frozen chicken through the season, since we increased our inventory, or our production rather, we knew we were going to need more cold space. So we upped it yet again. They're just out there in boxes. I think we'll just set them over there and, to the side, and use them as we need them, as it goes.
Yeah, we're going to need one of them on Wednesday, though.
Oh, it's always the thing. Where are we going to put all this meat?
Yeah.
But and it goes out. We haven't had to buy any in a while, but they do keep coming here though, don't they? Yeah.
Dad's been finding them at garage sales.
Yeah.
We've been getting some
auctions,
some uprights.
Yeah, that's been
they're nice,
so
too.
helpful. Yep. Okay. You were talking about having the chickens out on pasture, and that's cool. But the problem with the chickens out on pasture is having someone to protect the chickens, because we live right next to the Mark Twain National Forest on one corner, and it'd be wild over there, y'all. It's a forest. And so there are animals that live over there that are not, in fact, farm animals.
Yeah, that's true.
Big ones. They're big ones too. And so we have to be diligent about our predators, whether it be coyotes wanting to eat things or bears wanting to eat things. What else?
Well, I think the Wildlife Commission says we don't have mountain lions, but our neighbor has a picture of a mountain lion in their yard.
So what is a farm to do whenever you live next to a national forest that has not farm animals, and what they want to come eat for animals is you get guard dogs?
Yeah, so today's topic is livestock guardian dogs. We want to show you guys some pictures. We'll talk about puppies. We'll talk about training, talk about how we learned about the livestock guardian dogs, and share lots of stories of, the highs and the lows, the ups and downs that we've had with our dogs.
So a lot of times on a homestead, the first thing that you do whenever you get there is plant your orchard. And you plant your orchard because it's going to take a long time for those trees to grow up and start bearing fruit. And so you want to get them in and get them going so that whenever it's while you're working on building everything else, the trees are growing, right? So essentially, our livestock guardian dogs were our orchard. And they were the absolute first animals that we got on our farm. And the reason was we knew that we were going to have animals that were vulnerable.
Yeah. Nope, not that one.
This swimming pool. There you go. So these puppies are the OG dogs. That is Tank. He's the light one. And the next one, the fuzzy tan one, is Nala. And then the black one is Lucy. So Tank, Nala, and Lucy. They were the original.
Those were the first animals we had on our farm. Those are the first farm animals we got. That was our orchard, if you will, in Shelley's analogy. And that was it. They were here.
Well, it wasn't very much. It wasn't very long until the guineas showed up.
Oh, the guineas and the ducks.
The guineas and the ducks.
Wow. Yeah. Let's go through some comments.
Okay. Let's go through some comments. What are you guys doing out there?
We've got a good evening.
Phil.
Another moist day here in Southwest Missouri. Yes,
For
sir. We have Homestead Jude saying hello all. Angels Homestead says, hey, everyone. Kathy Lyon says, hello, everyone. News coming out today sure has been bad. Wonderful to spend the next hour with you. I guess we've...
Yeah, well, it's not good anywhere. Like the things going on in Idaho and it's just the world. Yeah. If we've missed something because we've been busy, just pop it in the comments.
Yeah.
If there's something tragic going on, we don't
W.S.
know.
Frost says, hello, everyone. Mary Hillerman, miss seeing you guys this
we missed you guys
weekend.
On Saturday.
We will definitely be slating a visit over there. Want to bring home some Berkshire pork when we do. Absolutely. We want to send you home with it.
We can hook you up.
Angels Homestead talking about the chicken tractors. Yeah.
Natural Grandma. Yeah, they do that. I bet. They do a lot of chickens. They do a lot of eggs.
And we've got a bunch of ideas. We just haven't done it yet. It's, and Shelley mentioned it, the steepness of our hills and getting it moved around the property has been our biggest issue. So we'll have to work out how to do that. Xana Brooks says, I just had a mental picture of chickens in little sanitation worker outfits. Yep.
Oh my gosh, right?
The cleanup crew.
That's great.
That'd be a good,
a
good pick.
Oh, we could totally have AI make that.
Oh yeah.
We could, with little sanitation working chickens out there.
If we can get them out there on the pasture, we could use that as the thumbnail, a little AI sanitation.
Oh, that would be
chicken
great.
Crew.
Yeah.
Or we could even do it as a video. That'd be fun. So Mary says we have about 140 chicken heartbeats on our property right now. Some as old as 3 years old, newest 3 months old. Lordy, the food those 66 3-month-old pullets are going through, 100 pounds per week.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, they can plow through some food, can't they? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've got, let's think through it. We've got 600 in chicken tractors right now. We have 400 in brooders plus 50 turkeys. So that's 1,050. And then we have our 125 or so layers. So we've got almost 1,200 birds on farm right now.
Yep.
And we're going through a ton of the broiler feed every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And we go through about 1,000 pounds a month of the layer feed.
Yeah, they eat
a lot.
Our feed mill loves us.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
We got a Christmas present.
We sure did. When you rank on your feed mills list and you get Christmas presents, you probably spend too much money.
Homestead Jude says, any suggestions or recipes for how to incorporate more organic meats into the diet? Beef heart, liver.
Yeah. Well, one thing you could do is just grind it up and put it into your ground beef. A lot of people do that to sort of mask the flavor. If you don't like liver or the liver flavor, you could take it and if you have a meat grinder, you could just run it straight through and put it with your ground beef. Add some ground pork to it if you eat pork, and make a really yummy meatloaf, and you would get the liver in there. And heart, Rich made us some heart the other day. It was probably several weeks ago. But what did you do to that?
Well, I just basically sautéed it in fried it in a little bit of bacon grease.
And it was really good. Heart's a muscle, and it's a really lean one. Well, it should be. And on the muscle texture from the heart was such that it, what did it taste like?
It was very tight-knit fibers.
Yeah.
It looked like raw tuna.
But it was really super beefy.
Yeah, what I'm saying, when I was dealing with it raw,
yeah,
it had the same texture as raw tuna, really, really tight fibers.
Yeah, it was good.
The one gotcha or trick with the heart is you have to make sure that all of the little valves are gone. And out of the 2 packs of heart that I cooked, there was only one little piece of heart valve that was in there. And you just trim it out. I trimmed the fat off of it because that's what the recipe I was following recommended. Mm-hmm. I trimmed it all up, sliced it, and sautéed it. It was actually really good. After eating it, I'm like, this really should be treated more like a regular muscle than an organ meat,
Yeah, really enjoy it.
Yeah, mm-hmm. We could do a video on that too.
Mm-hmm.
I guess poodles don't work as livestock guardian dogs. LOL, says Mary. That,
Oh no.
funny you ask.
Yeah.
We had a guy offering us
Yeah.
a half
I
poodle,
think
half
poodles are,
Anatolian.
yeah, I think poodles are great, but I don't know about as livestock guardian dogs.
Hi from mom and dad.
Hi, mom and dad.
What's Tom say? This is a real sweet spot for us. Summer crops are in. We have a couple of weeks before we harvest the winter cereals. Boom. It lands smack dab when you want to schedule lives. You're welcome.
Yeah, you are welcome.
And then Anna says, hi from Lakeland, Florida. Woohoo. Hi.
Well, I think we've said this before. We hail from Florida originally, from South Central Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Went to UCF. Yeah. All that. Anyway, okay. So back to the subject at hand, which was livestock guardian dogs. So we got them first because we knew we were going to have vulnerable animals, and we've heard like lots of coyotes in this area, lots of, what are you going to do to keep mostly sheep and calves safe? And so we did a lot of researching and learning about what to do with the livestock guardian dog, because we're dog people, but more like, we haven't never had a poodle, but kind of like poodle people, we've had pets. We've never had to have a working dog.
Right.
So off goes the research. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we, like all of the rest of the things that we've learned here on the farm, we did a lot of reading and bounced that up against things that we were seeing and hearing on YouTube, and just started learning. There's a book. I'll throw up the pic of the book. It's called The Way of the Pack. That, of all of the books that I read, that one is the one that really sat the best with me. There are a lot of different people have different opinions on what you should do with livestock guardian dogs. Mm-hmm. And those opinions range anywhere from bring them into the house and keep them as pets for a while to put them out on the pasture and never speak to them, just sort of toss them a bone for food every now and then, and really sort of everything in between. And so just like everything else where there's multiple opinions, we had to sort of
cipher out what worked for us and in our context.
Wade through it and figure out what works for us. And that particular book, The Way of the Pack, I felt like really hit a middle ground, a medium road, if you will, on how to deal with these livestock guardian dogs, because they are very, very different than pets.
So the breed, I guess, that we have, that is an Anatolian Shepherd crossed with a Great Pyrenees, and that cross can come out in. You can get multiple personalities, and you can get multiple looks to them. Some of them will be kind of fuzzy, more like a Pyrenees, and other ones will be like sleeker, like the Anatolian, like tank. And the different personalities, they kind of they act a little different. They do. Yeah,
and so the Pyrenees, they are more the typical. We'll talk typical. So Pyrenees are more like stay with the flock. They're the ones that you'll see like, lambs jumping or laying down on top of this great big dog, and they'll like clean their face off and want to be right there with the flock. And Anatolian is more of a perimeter guard. They are less interested in the animals and way more interested in keeping other things out of their area.
Yeah. And so, okay, a couple of stories. Let's see. Well, no, before we start to tell a story or two, the way that we trained them, we got sheep, we trained them to us, and then we got sheep, and what we did was those dogs lived next to those sheep because they were young. They lived next to them in their net with their house, guarding the sheep in their own space for a year. We moved the dogs and the sheep to a new spot every day for a year. That was before we were selling meat and had YouTube channel.
Right. Yeah, so the sheep got fresh grass every day, and the three dogs moved to where the sheep were the previous day. Mm-hmm. And the dogs had a little house that we built them, and we pulled it with the side by side. And we would move the sheep, we would move the dogs, we would move the house, we would move the sheep, we would move the dogs, we would move the house. And we did that literally every day for a year. And the reason being is we didn't have any adult dogs on the property. So once you have trained adult livestock guardian dogs, they do a real good job of at least the initial training with puppies. But because we didn't have any, we're starting from scratch. We had to train the puppies from scratch also.
And that meant giving them a safe space to be a puppy. We couldn't just you don't throw a 6-month-old puppy in Anatolian or Pyrenees in with sheep and expect them to behave themselves, because they'll have a period of time where they did great, but then somewhere between 6 months and a year old, they turn into like monsters. And so we gave them a safe space to be the dogs that they were, to grow up and to mature. So when did we put them in with the sheep?
Tank was 14 months old. Nala was 18 months old, and Lucy was 2.
Okay. Let's talk about Lucy for a second.
Let me throw up. Do we have a...
Well, just the one when she was a puppy. Oh, no. The one with the girls there. Okay. The black dog sitting so pretty, looking out over the land, that is Lucy. That's what she grew up into. Now, next to her is the white dog is Kita, and the black dog is Missy. Those are puppies that we had on this property, not puppies anymore, but we had a litter of puppies to give us more dogs, and that's them.
But Lucy's the bigger black one that is sort of sitting up.
So that's Lucy. Now, when Lucy was a puppy, Lucy was the biggest clown, y'all. She just wanted to play all the time. She would never ever be serious. She would get into trouble, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
And all we could think was,
this dog's broke.
Yeah, she's broke, and we don't want any puppies out of her ever. And so we made sure that dog got spayed. Like, no, I don't even want her. I certainly don't want any more puppies out of her, and I don't even know what to do with her, which brings up another subject.
Because she was so clowny, Michaela loved her.
Oh, yeah.
So she was Michaela's favorite.
Yeah. Well, fast forward to about 2.5 years old, and it clicked for her. And she became the best farm dog.
Yeah, she's by far the most attentive to everything that's going on around. I mean, she's paying attention always.
All the time. She would be at the barn, just hanging out, sort of, but she's always paying attention. And you would see that dog get up and just, hightail it under 2-3 barbed wire fence paddocks all the way to the road, which is about a 1/4 mile up, and just run other dogs off.
Yeah.
That we wouldn't even see. And she would just, I'm talking all tail up there. And it was fun to watch, and she just does a great job.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Lucy was a clown, and now she's a fantastic farm dog.
Yep.
Nala, she just always did a great job, and she's a really good mom. That's the one that we bred. And she is quite a rodent killer, y'all. I'm telling you. Because we went out one morning and, put that up there.
This one?
Yeah. Raccoon dead. Actually, there was 2.
Yeah, there were 2 in the yard that day.
Yeah.
They do, again, they really do pay attention. And that was me bent over telling her what a great job she did protecting the farm from those evil raccoons.
Well, raccoons will wreak havoc on a chicken flock for sure.
Yeah, we've lost more animals to raccoons and possums than anything. The possums, we had a whole lot of possums
Yeah.
initially.
Check out the comment, Tom's comment right there. Pop it up on the screen. We basically have an infestation of American bald eagles. The only win is less protected targets you can afford to lose. I do have donkeys with the large ruminants to keep the coyotes away. Funny you say that. The one lamb that we lost to a predator was, we believe we had a trio of bald eagles, and we lost a lamb to an eagle, we believe.
Yeah. Unfortunately, where we had the sheep at that time, we didn't have the dogs with them. And that is the one sheep, lamb that we've lost to predation was in that paddock, and it was to a bald eagle. So, we got you there.
Yeah. Another time where they did their jobs, we went out there and something really big had tried to get in with our sheep.
Yeah, it had ripped apart we had polywire, and it was broke through the wire, broke in two. Lines were pulled up, our step-in posts were pulled up. I had a little trap set. I was trying to catch possums, and the metal was ripped apart on the trap that I had set. Like, it was, we know that there are big black bear in the area. We've got pictures of those. We were in the paddock with them one day. That was crazy. But I believe it was probably that big black bear came and tried to have a lamb meal that evening, and Tank and two boys, Tozer and TJ, were all in with the lambs, and no lambs were harmed. Nothing. Like, the paddock was, like, the fences were ripped apart, and there were no lambs messed with.
So, speaking of these big dogs and lambs, Tank loves the lambs, y'all. I think we have a picture of him with some lambs, which is just a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. So there's that big dog, which you notice that he's basically the same color as the sheep. Yeah. Which is a really good thing. He just blends right in with them. You don't even hardly know he's there. And those little baby lambs, he'll just let them come and sniff on him, and he'll lick them in the face, and he loves them, and he takes very good care of them. And we do have a tragic story, though, because he loves them so much. 2 years ago. Yeah. Well, it would have been not this breeding season, last lambing season.
Last lambing season, yeah. So Tank had just turned 2. He was maybe 2.5. And the year before, he really bonded with the lambs. Like, that was sort of his job. He was the lamb protector. So wherever the lambs went, he went. And I had him in with the ewes because I knew they were about to start lambing. And one thing about new lambs is they make a lot of noise as they're trying to figure out mom and ewe and lamb. There's a lot of bleating and noise and crying, and so that is very attractive to predators. So I wanted Tank in with them as they started lambing. Well, the first ewe had her twin lambs, and I went out. I heard the lambs. I went out, and the lambs were with Tank and not with their mom. So I was like, what is going on? And Tank was smiling that they do this, they do it. And yes, he was very, very happy. He was wagging his tail. He was excited to show off what he had for me. He had 2 lambs that he was protecting. And I went and found... They were
the first 2 lambs of the season.
The first 2 lambs of the season. I went and found, and he had killed the mom. Yeah. All I can assume or figure out is mom was probably licking and trying to take care of the lambs, and the lambs were probably bleating, and that looked to Tank an awful lot like that mom was trying to mess with his lambs, and he didn't he didn't eat her. I mean, it wasn't anything like that. It was one bite on her neck, and she was gone. And
So they can get confused. They can, they're very smart dogs. And they're very attentive, but there can be confusion.
But they are dogs.
Yeah.
And so to him, like if you think about it as a protector, you haven't had lambs in 6-7 months.
Mm-hmm.
Now lambs show up, and the big sheep is trying to do things with the lambs, and that was it was too much for him. It confused him.
So we pulled him out and then reset him.
And I'd heard of that happening before.
Yeah.
It didn't like click. It didn't, I wasn't thinking, oh, I better watch, or, it wasn't anything like that. But when it happened, I was like, oh man, I felt so bad because I felt like it was my fault because I put him in that position. He was trying to do a good job and protect his lambs. And, so what we ended up doing was just building a separate paddock for him, a pen for him that was between the ewes and lambs and the national forest, so that as far as a predator was concerned, they would have to come through Tank in order to get to the
And then once there were
lambs.
a lot of lambs on the ground, we put him back in, and he did fine. It was just that initial, I think it was just a little too much and a little too confusing for him, because at the end of the day, they are dogs. But they do a really fantastic job.
So my recommendation, and for moving forward, even for this year, we pulled the dogs out while the initial lambs were being born, and we breed our ewes so that everything's born within about a 3 to 4 week period. So dogs were out while the all of the lambing was going on, and the blood and the bleating, and all of the things that would be confusing potentially for a guardian dog. We pulled the dogs out, and just to keep any confusion from happening.
Yeah.
And then right now, Tank and Nala are in with the ewes and the lambs.
Yep.
Tom had another comment. What's up, Tom? Livestock dogs, I failed every way possible, and with barn cats, they don't want to hunt. Their scent does scare a lot of rodents away, but unless you can cuddle a mouse to death, oh no. So that's another story with
We do have barn cats.
Our guardian dogs.
Well, our house it's a barn house. So a lot of our barn is connected to our actual home. And I was, for good reason, concerned about rodents coming and start trying to live with us because of all the feed out there in the barn part. And so cats being really important, we have them to try to keep the rodents in the field and not in the house. And so we just keep a pretty decent population of them. They come, the population will come up and then it'll go down, and they're just kind of feral out there. But they do a pretty good job.
The females hunt really
great
well.
hunters. The males suck.
The males,
are not
they
good.
wander. They seem to wander off.
They wander off, and
The
they're not
females-
good hunters. They just lay around and be fat and eat dog food. That's what they do. But the females, they'll bring us rabbits. They'll bring us mice. I mean, chipmunks. They're good at what they do. But Tank and Missy, they don't like cats. Tank, he don't like cats, and we try to keep him away from the barn. And one day he kind of got out of the paddock he was in and was wandering around, and he went on a spree through the barn, and I came up and saw him walking off with a kitten in his mouth, like not a teeny tiny one, but a small one. And I look over, and there's like this small pile of them that he had. And then I looked, and he had taken out our like best favorite barn cat, Smokey. And so he was kind of banished for a while. Like, I was so mad at that dog, but he hates cats. I mean,
He does.
So they don't get along. Some of them do. Like, we've got one guy out there right now, Tozer. He's out there, and he doesn't mind cats. He's okay with them. But Tank is bad. It was really bad.
He does not like cats. And it's not one where, you know, a cat will slap him and the dog will run away
No.
kind of thing. He just runs up and kills them.
He just does. And then that was it. He just did a really good job.
He was definitely trying to rid the barn of those cat rodents.
So I was upset about that one.
Yeah.
Stupid animals.
Well,
sometimes, you know, you live with what you got. Did you know, fun fact, and he'll tell you the numbers, that an Anatolian Shepherd has the strongest bite pounds per square inch of any, right?
Yeah.
Any of in the dog world.
Domesticated dogs,
Domesticated dogs.
Yeah, wolf is the only thing that comes close.
His jaws are, is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. He probably weighs 200 pounds.
Close,
Maybe
yeah.
180. And it doesn't take much for him to just snap something.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
But he loves us, and we're glad about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I liked the Way of the Pack book is it really fostered you want to be part of the pack. You want the dogs to accept you as part of the pack. You don't want them to feel like they're over there and you're over here. It needs to be a team, and you need to be part of that team. And you know, they're not pets. They're not, you know, coming in and sleeping in the bed at night or something like that. But you are part of the team. And we worked hard. Like we said, that first year we were with those dogs every day, and training them to the sheep. We would put them on a lead and walk them in with the sheep with us. And initially that was a very short lead. And as they got older, the lead would get longer, and then the lead would drag. And, you know, we spent months in the paddock with the sheep and the dogs with, you know, dragging a lead and correcting, you know, telling them no, and, you know, going and grabbing the lead and pulling them back. And, you know, like it was a lot of training, but, you know, once you have them trained, then you have a guard dog, you have a protector. And the good thing is then they help train the puppies. And when we had puppies, we had them in with the animals. So mom was with the animals, the puppies were with the animals, the sheep in particular, and the puppies just grow up learning their manners around the sheep. I will say though that when they become teenagers, it doesn't matter what they've learned from mom and dad, they turn into little terrors. And our puppies, when they became teenagers,
want to taste and they want to play,
they want to
sheep run
and
really well away from them.
Pull their tail, and then the tail starts to bleed, and then that's really fun. So you have
to take them out and let them mature.
When they're even for us at least, even when they were teenagers, even though mom and dad helped them initially, we had to pull them out and train them.
So they're great with the cows. They're great with the sheep.
Oh yeah,
they really are. They're not good with the birds. They're not. We thought we could train one of them to do good with the chickens, and everybody, when we were selling puppies, because we had more than what we really needed, everybody wants them to be good with chickens. Well, are they good with chickens? Well, I mean, first of all, you're buying a puppy. I don't know, and second of all, it is a dog. And dogs, especially those dogs, are really difficult to train to chickens.
They make such a fuss, and there's a lot of flapping, and there's noise and squawking, and if the dog, you know, comes near them, the chicken is probably going to bark and do this. And especially for teenage dogs, that is too fun to pass up.
Yeah.
We had one dog, Missy, the smaller black dog. We had her in with chickens for a couple of weeks, and she was doing really well. And then she decided that it was just too fun. She just couldn't handle it anymore. She had to play with them, and she didn't even kill any of them. She was just playing with them, and they're just too big to play with.
We do not. We use electric netting from Premier One. To keep the chickens in, and we give them the space we give them, and because we have dogs everywhere, we don't have to close them in at night or anything. They're safe in their little chick shells and stuff. But livestock guardian dogs and chickens don't really do well together. If you're wondering that, just
Yeah. No.
not in our experience.
Yeah. Jeannie Kinlan says hello from Tecumseh. This is a very interesting story. Love your content.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. And Anna says, your male cats were just like adult male lions. The females do most of the hunting, but the male lions get to eat first. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yep. Homestead Jude, how do you teach the dogs your boundaries?
You hear us both sigh. Well, they stay inside of hot wire. Because these types of dogs, if you do not have a tight perimeter fence that can keep them in, they will roam. They're known to roam. They will go far and wide. And the number one thing that gets them is cars.
Yeah, the number one killer of your livestock guardian dogs is cars.
Yeah.
The dogs really do know the boundaries, and I think they know it based on where you go. And, we spend most of our time on the farm, and where we go around the farm and the dogs would go with us, like they know where the boundaries are, but they will wander outside of the boundaries if they can, has been our experience. So right now we have everybody pretty tight. We have one that's out wandering, and since
he's by himself, he has stayed close.
Yeah.
And so he's doing okay so far. If you get a couple of them together, they're probably going to go on a walkabout. So how do we keep them? We keep them in the hot wire with livestock of some sort.
Yeah. We were just talking about it driving home this evening. If we had a tight perimeter fence with electricity, we would probably let the guardian dogs roam more than we do. Some of them we would not be able to because we wouldn't have any cats. But some of them we would let roam more than they do.
Tight meaning something more than five wire barbed wire. That's not enough. It would probably have to be 9, or it would need to be electric, or do some. If we had welded, or what do you call it, 4x4,
some kind of expanded wire
all the way around the property. It's in spots, but it's not everywhere, and they can just go through the underneath the barbed wire. Some people will put like big PVC triangle collars on the dog so that they can't go through the fence, and we may try that.
I think we're going to try it because we want to get the sheep back in with the cows.
Yeah.
And the sheep will stay in the barbed wire with the cows as long as the grass is good, but the dogs won't. And we want the dogs with the sheep. So I think we're going to try the big triangle PVC collars to keep them from
constant decisions and problem solving.
Yeah, for sure. So Tom says, eagles, osprey, they are our partners, whether we like it or not. We're okay with it. It's a circle of life. They also get rid of harmful burrowing creatures. That is true.
True.
Absolutely. Susie Q says, hello. Hi to you. And then she says, thank you to your daughter for her service for our country. She is so appreciated. Thank you. And then Angel's Homestead says, Catahoula breed is supposed to be good with chickens. A friend has one with her chickens. Ah. That's cool. We had Catahoulas and blue tick crosses that we hunted hogs with when we first got married, living in South Florida.
Yeah.
So Tozer, we mentioned Tozer. He's with he's
just out running around.
He's out right now. One of our partner farms that has 1,000 acres, just a few miles from us, they are raising cattle and sheep, and their livestock guardian dog got sick. And they contacted us and asked if we had any dogs that we could spare. And so we sent 2 of our males. The puppies, TJ, which is Tank Jr., and Tozer. TJ and Tozer went to their farm and stayed there for 6 weeks.
I don't know. Okay.
Maybe 6 weeks. And we got a text, and it was, hey, Tozer's not working out. Do you want him back?
So we're like, Tozer,
that, because he's like this gentle giant guy. He's at least as big as Tank, but just as friendly as he could be.
So I texted back. I'm like, well, what? Let us think on it, and why? but maybe the answer is just no, depending on what happened. And he said, well, he's killed 3 lambs. And we're like, oh, that's not good. But, you got to be responsible about these things. So we're like, well, we'll take him back. And we'll see.
We traded out Tozer for Missy. So Missy went, and she's seeing how she can do on their farm.
Oh, so I got talking to him whenever he brought him back, and he just jumped out and was like, "Oh, I'm back home again," and went and laid down in the barn now, and promptly started peeing everywhere. Well, the dude was telling me, I said, "How did he kill him?" He was like, "Well, he was like burying them." And we're like, "Burying them? What?" It's like, yeah, one of them was even like still alive, and he was like covering it up. And I'm like, that's so strange. Like, that's really strange. So I was telling Rich, he had gone to go get the dog, and I was telling him about this conversation later, and he was like, oh, I know. I bet I know what happened. So
Tozer's a collector of things. He collects all things. He wanders, and anything that he can find, he will bring back and collect it.
He'll have a pile of
a stick, or a piece of paper, or a paper bag, or a plate, or a neighbor's
bucket lid, or
a neighbor's shoe. Like,
yeah, he collects things. He would collect things even as a puppy.
Yeah,
and it was kind of funny. It was irritating.
But I think he was collecting lambs.
Yeah, because he wasn't killing them. He was like
wanting to keep them.
Gathering them and keeping them.
He was like a lamb collector, but that's not good.
That's not good. No. So he does really good when he's in with the sheep, but maybe not when they're little.
Yeah. They need to not be able to be collected, I
right. think. We were like, what weird trait is this in this dog? So he's just running around. So we have new kittens in the barn, and they're so adorable. And I'm like, if that dog tries to collect those kittens, I'm going to be really upset.
He's not, though. He's doing really well with the kittens.
No, he's not.
Again, I think a little bit of correction, and he'll do just fine. He's such a good dog.
Yeah.
He'll do great.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
He will.
The kittens are still out there. It's been several days.
So. Yeah. So Bruce says the triangle PVC collars work well for our dogs. It keeps them in a 3-wire electric fence.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll have to try it.
Yeah, we're gonna give it a try then.
Right after you fix the driveway.
No, I mean so that we can put them in with the cows.
Oh, on those paddocks. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So as soon as we get Tank and Nala in those collars, then we can put the sheep in with the cows. Run it as a flirt.
Are they prohibitive for them to do their job?
No, they just can't get through the fence.
Okay. I'm just, like if you're trying to, fend off a bear or something, and you have this like collar in your way. I mean, I could just how do they do their job if they, I just.
So I'm picturing the collar and fighting a bear.
Oh.
So Jesse Mann gave us a super chat, $5. Thank you. That was awesome. Should I get a guard dog for my garden? Deer have done so much damage to my garden this year. LOL. Wow. I wouldn't get a guard. If you could keep the dog around your garden but not in your garden. Ours would totally dig it up.
Oh yeah, ours would. Yeah.
They would do way more damage than the deer.
They would do more damage than the deer. I think all of the dogs and animals, because we have animals up around our place where the garden is. We have them. The deer don't even come anywhere near all the chaos going on up here.
Yeah.
But we do have some electric fencing. We have some Premier One chicken net fence around our garden, and we hotted it up. And I know a deer can totally clear that.
But it's a 48-inch poultry net, and we have not had any issues with any
No.
any animals getting in
Yeah.
to the garden. And we have a lot of livestock guardian dogs around. Like
Yeah.
the deer stay out of this particular area.
I think the coolest thing that I've seen is what Kevin and Sarah did at their place at Living Traditions Homestead, where they put the double fencing and all the way, double fencing with a moat basically around, because deer don't like to do a double, like they can't do that. They put double fencing all the way around their orchard and whatnot, and that they haven't had one problem. It's a lot, but it would protect. But I don't know about I don't know about dogs with the garden. No, maybe around
the garden. I wouldn't put mine in the garden for sure.
Not in, because they would just make a horrible mess of it.
Yeah. Thank you again for the super chat.
Yes.
That was awesome. So Bruce says it does not interfere with their mouth. They are still able to defend very well.
Okay. Well, we'll have to give it a try.
Sold.
Yeah.
I can see the thumbnail on that video too. The AI generated.
Oh yeah.
Triangle collar
PVC triangle.
fighting a bear or something.
Yeah.
Wendy says, "Happy Monday, y'all." Thank you. Happy Monday.
Oh. Well, if y'all have any other questions about livestock guardian dogs, y'all, now is the time. Do any of you, I know Bruce does, but do anybody else have guard dogs, use them, had them, didn't like them?
Two things before we finish. One is you would think that they eat a lot. And these dogs, although huge, don't eat that much. No. They have a very low metabolism, so they don't eat nearly as much as what you would think. I mean, they are a big dog, so they eat more than a Yorkie. But I mean, like they do not eat as much as you would think.
Not as much as like a Great Dane. A Great Dane eats a whole bunch.
A whole lot.
We've had one before. But these, no, they don't eat nearly that. And especially if it's hot outside, they really don't eat. They'll eat like every other day, honestly. It doesn't take much. And they have such a slow metabolism. The vets have to be careful with them if they have to give them anesthesia.
That's right.
Because it will overpower because they have such a slow metabolism.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I would ask you guys, if you are thinking about getting a livestock guardian dog, is have a plan for what you're going to do with that livestock guardian dog if they don't work out. They are very big animals. It is not easy to find someone to take them, like to rehome them, especially if they're not working out because they're killing your lambs or something is going on. You often hear a lot about, if your sheep aren't doing great, cull them, and if your cows aren't doing great, cull them, and your chickens stop laying, cull them. That cull hard, and you hear this a lot about the livestock, but the livestock guardian dog, for most people, I would say, culling a dog is just a little bit different thought process. So, like, have an idea of, if this doesn't work out,
what's your exit plan?
Do? And that's why when we, with our partner farm, when we sent Tozer and TJ to them, we said, if they don't work out, please call us. So I wanted them to have the out of what to do in case of it not working. I didn't want them to have to be faced with the decision of, how do I cull this beautiful, kind, nice livestock guardian dog that's now killing lambs. Mm-hmm. So I wanted them to have an option there. So I would say have a thought about that. What do you feed your guardian dogs? We feed them just dog food.
Dog food. It's a high protein dog food, but not like the most expensive kind. We get it from our local feed store.
The black bag value pack.
They carry a brand called Value Pack, and it's good, but it doesn't cost an arm and a leg.
It's grain free, soy free, high protein, high fat. Yeah. And they do really well.
And occasionally they do get some of the organ meats that we have around here from having so much meat and organs.
Yeah. Susie Q says, what is their lifespan? About 8, 9 years old. They all live outside. They all sleep on the ground. So a lot of the things that keep your pets alive longer, they don't have a lot of those niceties. Typically, you'll hear that they are good for guarding for about 6 years. And then a lot of people will retire them up to the house or barn for the last couple of years.
Yeah. When you've got 7 or 8 of these things running around out there, they don't get baths. They're working dogs. I don't give my guard dogs a bath. They would hate that.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
just
no,
would.
they would not
They're
like
just,
that at all.
they're semi-wild. They're not wild. They're very well trained, but they're not gonna put up with a bath. They'll let us put like flea and tick medicine on them, especially during tick season. And if something's wrong, they'll let us give them medicine. But we take them to the vet in the horse trailer if we have to take them.
And the vet comes out to the trailer.
And the vet comes to the
we
trailer.
don't take them into the vet.
Right. They are true blue work dogs.
Yeah.
For us. Next question down, can I have one as a pet that didn't work out as a guardian dog? Yeah, maybe. If that dog has been trained to like people, they are super smart. And actually, one of the puppies that we sold to a lady who needed emotional support dog. And he was huge. He was going to be huge. And she was so glad about that. And he was going to go live in an apartment, which you would think, oh no, don't put the big dog in an apartment. But because they're not high activity,
right?
They have a slow metabolism. They would make a wonderful pet.
Yeah.
Honestly, we've talked about all of these dogs. Like I would have that dog in the house in a heartbeat if it didn't have another job.
Yeah.
So yes,
absolutely.
They make amazing.
They notice everything too.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of ours has one inside, and he moved one of his little trinkets on his curio cabinet, and the dog sat and barked at it
because it was out of place.
Yeah, they notice everything.
Right.
They really are good dogs. Xana says that's a different kind. Silence of the Lambs. Yeah,
for real.
Yeah. And then Tom says deterring deer is about 2 layers. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what Kevin and Sarah did. And their moat works really well.
So you could do a 2-layer chicken net. So you could do your chicken net, right? So you're not putting in a hard infrastructure, and then you could come off of it 5 feet or so, or 6, and then do a double layer, do another chicken net around it. Boom. Problem solved. Mm-hmm. There we go. That's how we farm, y'all. You gotta be able to,
every day.
Every day. There you go. Oh, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. And thanks for hanging out with us again tonight, you guys. Our hour goes really fast, doesn't it?
This one went really fast.
I know. That was because it was fun.
Oh.
It was fun.
Okay.
And now they know more than they ever wanted to know about livestock guardian dogs.
Right.
Okay. Well, thanks for hanging out with us again, guys. Have a wonderful Independence Day, 4th of July weekend. Stay safe if you're out on the water. Please have a wonderful weekend, though, celebrating this
Happy
great
Independence
country.
Day, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And until next time, bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. This was